Okay, so while everyone's getting settled, I'm going to get started with a story. Homeschoolers love story time, right? All right, so this was my intro. All right, so I'm trying to remember my story. I just came up from another presentation. All right, so I wanted to tell you a story about the 2 times that I just got started homeschooling. All right, the twice. The first time was I had a 3-year-old. How many people have 3-year-olds in here? Okay. All right. So I got started with a 3-year-old, and quite frankly, we couldn't afford. My leg wasn't working. I was pregnant again, and we couldn't afford preschool. And I had a friend said, "Hey, what about homeschooling?" I was like, "Homeschooling? What's that?" I mean, on confession, I was a former MBA in my other life. At advertising and sales, I worked, and I was very happy and content. I had no intentions of standing here now. Okay, but I was excited about ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, and I was nervous. I was super nervous, and everything seemed hypersensitive. Has anyone have any anxiety about your homeschool decision? Okay. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, because everything seems so critical, all right? And it seems so important, like, oh my gosh, am I going to do the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I going to break my child? I mean, at co-op sometimes I go to my friend Lisa, she's around here somewhere. I say, do you think we're ruining our kids? What do you think? Are we breaking them? We ask each other sometimes when you hit these spots. But she was 3 years old. And I asked my husband, I said, honey, do you think I can homeschool? And he said, it's ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. What are you going to do? You know them, right? I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I could do this. And I was excited. And I went to Kmart, and I got some books, and Christmas time, we got Magic School Bus books, and we were happy until she was 4. And then I thought, because I'm type A, she has to read. And I had this friend who told me about Abeka. I was like, oh, they have pretty pictures. Abeka, I could do Abeka. So I went to a homeschool convention, something like this. And it was overwhelming. So many choices, too many choices. So many choices, right? And it's just and you're like in this culture. Because homeschooling, you think it's an education. It's not just an education, guys. It is a culture. Welcome to the homeschool world, all right? All over the country, you meet someone, oh, you're a homeschooler? Oh, what curriculum do you use, right? Right? So that was what I was getting into. And I forgot that I was in a public environment, and I stood in the middle of that convention center, and I collapsed and just cried. I was so worked up and overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do. So I'm standing there crying, embarrassed of myself. And this man, I'm sure he's a gift from God, he walked up to me, and he said, Miss, let me tell you something. If you don't mind, you see that shelf over there of character books? All of these choices, they're all good. Just make sure you work on their character. That's all that really counts. And I thought about it. I calmed down, and I was okay. I got my little Becca. Struggled when I got home, but that's another story. Because I didn't understand those little curvy as and the lines and it. I could read, but I didn't understand long and all that stuff. I really struggled. But that was the first time that I started homeschooling. Now, the second time I started homeschooling, remember that cute little 3-year-old? She learned quickly. Well, now she was 14. And she was getting on my last nerve. And I was ready to haul her and her siblings off to school. I had just finished being pregnant. We have 6. So I had just finished delivering twins at 42 years old. Surprise! And we had just finished moving for the 10th time. So I was not in that mommy moment of understanding why she was so angry with the world. She was just frustrated. I can say that now. In fact, she was laughing at me. She says, you mean I'm finally off the hook? She's 20 years old now. But she was 14, and she was a piece of work. And I was ready to quit. But I had already bought tickets to a homeschool convention because you buy them way in advance. And I figured I'd take her to this worldview thing, and they'll put some Jesus in her, and maybe she'll act right. right? That was the goal. So we went, and Bodhi Bakum was speaking. And I have been to 11 years of presentations by now, so it was like, okay, whatever. And I don't want to do this anymore anyway. And he started talking about being the only Christian in his lineage, like with his peers. And then he pulled up some charts with the 100-year perspective of the choices we make now. And that stopped me in my tracks. That was when I actually started listening to presentation. I can't even tell you what the rest, I don't even know the topic. That I remembered. 100-year perspective. And he said, the sacrifices that you make now, because it is a sacrifice. Homeschooling is pretty much laying your life down for the Lord, okay, and your family, and your children's children's children, is what he was saying. He said, when you make your choices, I want you to think of the 100-year perspective. And that, my friends, was the second time that I started homeschooling, because I have never looked at it the same way since. I get tired. We have ups and downs. At that moment, I repented because I just didn't want to be bothered. The child turned around within a year. She was fine. We found a co-op with other type A moms who got with me and helped me. And she's in college now. So it works out. But at the time, I just thought, I'm giving up my life for this? She's not even listening. She was driving me nuts. So that was the 2 times that I started homeschooling. So I just wanted to share that with you. Today's talk is on just getting started, homeschooling or making transitions. Now, I have a slew of information here. We will not get through it all right? But that's okay, because I know that you're going to go online, because you guys are newbies, and you're going to comb the internet, right? Who's done it? Who's looked up homeschooling? Be honest. There you go. Now, they didn't have that stuff when I was there getting started, so I would find people. But my name is Heloise Ridley, and I'm part of Ridley Concepts and Solutions. My husband is also a consultant. We provide powerful resources for parents and families. And what that means is that the power is from him. Now, we don't tell everyone that. That's like the undercover thing. But that's the power. Just so that we got that secret here, because we're at Enoch. Okay. So overall, we're going to go through some basic principles, some decision-making methods, and pretty much the big rocks, and also what kind of decisions are needed. All right. This is a picture of my family in the center. We're in the ministry team. I'm the children's pastor at the Father's house. That's where that picture's from. We had a church wedding. It was great. So we all looked nice at the same time. So it's like, hey, take a picture. So we did that. That's all the kids. And the 3-year-old is the oldest one, standing next to me in the middle. And these are some of the issues we deal with. Usually at Enoch, I do internet safety talks, and families call me sometimes when their kids get in trouble. And also, because I'm in ministry, I help with all kinds of issues, everything from cutting, drama, rebellion, all of it. So if you need to get in touch with me, I have my number there. If you have the slide presentation, it's on there. Just text me, and I will get back to you, or you can email me. I think I have here. There's a website, heloiseridley.com. You could just type Heloise Ridley and look up Facebook. I'm on Twitter, blah, 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 all of it. So this here is what I like to say. We help families get off of the crazy cycle and onto the path of peace. And who is the peace? Jesus, right? Jesus is the peace. That's also undercover, guys. That's only for this room. Okay? So, but he is the peace. Sometimes I'm leading people into his peace, and they just want peace and relief. They don't know that they're being led to the water that provides life. They don't always know that. And because I work in the hood, our children's ministry is in the hood, and sometimes they don't want to hear about Jesus. They just want a place to live, right? Or they just want the pain to stop. And if you could get the pain to stop, then they're going to go, well, hey, how did the pain stop? He is the path of peace. So that's what we do. And if you pin the slides from this presentation is on Heloise Ridley on my Pinterest board. My daughter is a Pinterest fiend, so she makes that happen. Okay. Now, when you see if you see spelling errors like this one on slides, it's my 20-year-old's fault. Just saying. Okay? She did the slides, 3 o'clock in the morning. She's wonderful. All right. So if you're making transitions, there's still some stuff here for you because, to be honest, I've been homeschooling 17 years now, and I'm in transition because it all ebbs and flows. Let's talk about the big rocks first. All right? What you will find is if you go through these tables in this conference, there's a slew of awesome materials. But if you go there without having your big rocks taken care of, you will be, like me, standing in the middle. I won't even ask. One conference I asked who has cried already over this situation. I won't make you raise your hand, but I've had parents come to me afterwards crying because they just don't know. If you take these big rocks, trust me. Trust the process, trust God, it will work out. All right? So God is the most powerful resource. If you're following his lead, you get that gut thing going. You ever have that gut feeling like, there are people that I know that are they're in homeschool denial. They know they're supposed to homeschool, but they're denying it because they don't want to lay their lives down. They don't want to do it. I don't want to do it all the time, but I like the results. And every time I think about not doing it, I hear another horror story, and I think God just helps me out. The schools right now are some of them are kind of crazy. So I follow God's peace. If you have God's peace in your decisions, you'll be fine. I even know homeschoolers there were seasons where God said, okay, I need you to put them in Christian school this year. He is the answer to follow. There's no one answer, okay? And the other thing is, just like my husband said, you're not going to break your child. If you have a year where you just work on character and you don't get any math done, and Johnny does not finish his curriculum, it's okay. All right? If you're type A like me, it will be painful for you, but he will be okay. All right? Keep it simple. Don't sweat the small stuff, and keep that 100-year perspective in mind. All right? That 100-year perspective is all that matters, and that starts with character, wisdom, knowledge, and them to have a sense of purpose. If you can get that purpose and destiny in their gut, they just take off. All right? Having fun and instilling the love of learning, you're going to hear that. That's like the homeschool mantra. And if you're anyone doing high school? High school. Okay. High school is not scary. Some people go, and I was like that when it's that transition from 8th to 9th that really, the soberness of the responsibility hits you, right? When you're doing high school. But here it goes. High school works, and it's okay. And once you get over that little bump, it's just like getting started homeschooling. It's like that little bump into homeschooling, and then you find your groove. And it's the same bump to get to high school, and then you find your groove. It really works well, and you have kids that are ready for college. It's just amazing. All right, so those are the big rocks. Now, there are a slew of decision-making methods online. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I put on my Facebook page a chart that I use. I really use it every year, and I just kind of chart out the subjects per kid. We have 6 kids, so 6 pieces of paper, math, blah, 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 all the subjects like that. And then what I try to do is overlap. So we do a lot of unit studies and things as such just to make life easier. I have learned over time that less is better. And that's a hard thing for me personally to admit. I have some friends who are all the way on the unschooler world, and they understand it. And I'm watching them, and I'm watching their results. And the one lady, her kid is a speech pathologist now with a master's degree teaching in schools. I'm like, oh, I guess that works. Oh, I didn't have to have all of the problems filled in. Like it all works because God is the one who does it. All right? Pray, 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 and don't look back. That's my gut check. If you don't come to a point of this is it with your decision making, you will analyze yourself to the point where you feel ill. All right? So what I do, for instance, right now, I have to make a decision. Every year, I pray a lot. Well, except for last year. And by mid-year, it wasn't working, and everything was falling completely apart. And I said, what is going on, God? What is it? He said, you never asked. Because I started grad school last year. I'm in a counseling program. And between that and grandma, I'm like, surely I prayed. Didn't I? And I just kept doing what we were doing. And that wasn't what he wanted. So it all crashed and burned. And I repented. I told him sorry. And then it just kind of smoothed out a little bit until December. I do bi-yearly evaluations. So whatever I decide in the summer, it's going to last. And I'm not going to deal with trying to school and decide curriculum and look at those little YouTube videos and reviews and all that stuff in the middle of the year. You can't get it done, right? You can't get your schoolwork done, right? And you've done it. I know you have. Confession. And you will drive yourself nuts. Homeschoolers some of them become curriculum junkies. I have like thousands of dollars, if I actually just had time to put online, of curriculum to get rid of. 6 kids, it's a lot of curriculum. People give you stuff and everything, and it just piles up. So I'm deciding now. I have that gut. I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but it's a decision for a high schooler. So I'm going to let them have their little vote. I decide. I'm mommy, but you do get a vote. What do you prefer? Okay, and I ask the kids what they prefer and such, and I'm going to go with the gut. I'm just kind of sieving it out, and I have a funnel. I'm going to show you the next picture, and I'm just feeling it out to hear what God is saying. And I also consult with veterans. That goes without saying. I go with veteran family members, people in their lives. And also I do the whole online catalogs and reviews now. That wasn't available back then. But this is a funnel that I'm referring to. You have all of these choices. And I usually kind of whittle it down to about 2 or 3. And then I just kind of go into prayer mode and I stop the analysis. And I say, if I'm missing something, God, I need you to show me because I'm done. I don't have time to spend any more time looking at another curriculum. And then I have friends who call you and say, hey, did you hear about Bridgewater? Right? And then the next day, hey, did you hear about, and then you go on all of these and I would follow them, and it's like, this is nuts. I cannot do this. So I say, no, I did not hear about it. And then maybe if I'm in the car on a store, maybe I'll Google search it that moment. And I'm like, no, Heloise, no, that's not where we're at. We're almost done. Don't go backwards. And so then I look, and so right now I have 2 to 3 choices on the table, and I know what I think the gut is saying, and I'm just kind of praying it through. I'm looking at my child. I'm looking at the situation and everything. I have a mom in the hospital right now. We've been doing hospitals. And it has been pretty tense. And so because of that, I think I know what I'm supposed to do. But we're going to see. So I'm closer to the middle of that sieve. All right. As a homeschooler, and like I said, type A personality, it's kind of hard sometimes to let go. But I've learned how to make lemonade out of lemons. And I noticed that veteran moms who understand this is a long perspective, parents, they understand if you have like a rough year when Johnny didn't finish his math book, he does it next year. It's okay. And then I say to my child, Marcus, you do realize that if we don't move into gear, you're going to be doing 3rd grade again. Do you understand me? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Yeah, I could do 10 pages a day. How about doing the ones I assigned? Let's start there. Right? And so he spent the next half hour analyzing how many days it would take for him to finish the book. He did a couple of pages of math after that, but that was what he spent most of the time doing. And that's why we're in this situation. So, but I learned that he is like my oldest, and I know what I'm dealing with. So me beating him up with it, with nagging is not going to do it. It's going to take me sitting next to him and just loving on him and encouraging him. He's a kid. There's some students you're going to have. They will not progress in the world unless you're sitting next to them. That's just the way it is. I'm really sorry. It's just the way it is. Okay, my kid is 20 years old in college, and she was working on the slides. I went upstairs. I said, I need quiet. She went in the chair and fell asleep. I says, you got to get up. You got to finish these slides. You said you were doing it. So what did I do? I sat next to her, and we had a great time till 5 in the morning. It was great. It hasn't changed. But she gets her A's in college, so I'm okay. All right. So what kind of decisions would we have to make? Some of the decisions we have to make are, these are the types of decisions that shape the school year. Each year, these things will become more and more intuitive, okay? You don't got to spend a lot of time analyzing and worrying about all the details. And are most of you who's from New Jersey? Okay. Who's from Pennsylvania? I'm so sorry, me too. Yeah, it's different. It's okay, though. Once you learn the ropes of it, it really isn't a big deal. And we had new laws to pass that make it easier. I used to live in Maine where there was like almost nothing you had to do. Now, that was painful. Maine back to Pennsylvania, I was not a happy camper. But that's okay. I'm over it. All right. So we talked about God being the cornerstone. So this was my daughter's assignment. I want you to find graphics to go with the words. So that's God, okay? So God is the rock. He is our parent coach. We do Ridley Concepts and Solutions, and one of the major things we're doing is helping the parents identify where God is moving in the process of parenting and teaching them the strategies of using the word to build that character in the child to address like the behavior issues. A lot of times I had a client, the kid was being naughty, and really they just needed attention. And they needed a more peaceful environment. Little things. But sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you can't see it. So I go to God because he tells me, now you know that story didn't line up with your kid said yesterday, right? Now they said that on Thursday, and yesterday they said that. That doesn't match. Oh, yeah, it didn't. Oh, wow. Would they lie to me? Oh my, like little stuff like that. And not just my own children, but children's ministry. All my babies having babies now. So God is a cornerstone. The driver is homeschool philosophy. Who knows their homeschool philosophy already? Okay. I did a talk on that called Homeschool Decisions last year at Enoch. So when you order your CDs, perhaps they have last year's up there. We did a whole thing where we discussed homeschool philosophy. You really need to know where you're coming from. Now, if Johnny or Mary is 3, is ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, we're good. It's okay. Don't go study it, all right? Just get started. Go to Kmart or whatever out here, get the books. But if you're doing a kid past kindergarten, you're going to need to know where you're coming from, what works well for you. Like I found out that I cannot be an unschooler. That is too nerve-wracking for me. All right? I need structure. However, I have a friend who's an unschooler, and they did art for 2 months with high schoolers. No doubt. And they went from not knowing painting to selling paintings. Okay? They went to all the different fairs. Now, what does that do for a child's self-esteem? Wow. People bought my art and paid me $175? Oh, my goodness. Hey, can I say that she was wrong to take 2 months to paint? Of course not. Now, he's going to have to catch up on that math, but it works. I don't know how it works, but God works it all out. So your philosophy, you have all the different camps, classical. I come from a classical point of view. You have unschoolers. You have people who try to do school at home. They just do canned curriculum. And there's a myriad of things. Too many choices. Character is the key. All right, I know I've beat that drum enough. So character is the most important thing. And if you're ever making a choice, don't do what I did. I had a school year where I was choosing between character and curriculum. I had my kids in a charter school at a time, and they had lessons and plans and deadlines, and I let the character slip. I let Bible time slip, and it was, I don't know what I was pregnant. And I can't say what I was thinking because I was thinking fatigue. All right, that's what I was thinking. On the couch, did you do your math? That was school. Okay, and I was letting Bible time go because our Bible time in our house was it might be an hour or two because they would get into these Socratic discussions, translation debates, And we'd be there for a long time. And it became this process that I'm just like, okay, just read a couple of scriptures and do some worksheets on Bible from life packs. We bought some life packs that made me feel better. But we're not going to have a discussion because we got to check the box. Just don't learn, just check the box. And my husband made up a song about checking the box. We made check-a-box songs. So we let it slip. But if you don't do what I did, because it went, didn't last long. So I make time. If I have to push math, English, whatever aside for character, I will do it. All right, location in the home. We had this wonderful place that we moved into, and it had this finished basement. And we planned it, and we decorated, and we had all kinds of desks and shelves and cubbies, and took pictures, balloons. It was great. My husband was thrilled. No books upstairs. Lasted a couple months. We're back in the kitchen, okay? You can't get dinner done. You can't get water. It's dark. It's a basement. There's no light. We're back in, this is nice. This is what he comes home to. God bless his soul. Okay. Online. Now, how old are people's kids? How many people have kids 8 and under? Raise your hand. Okay. How about 9 and up? Okay. So now how many of the 8 and under crowd use online things with their kids? Do online. That's what I thought. Now see, homeschoolers, we're kind of like anti-online. It's awesome. I love it. So I don't have to do I have an internet safety hat, and I won't pull it out because you guys are okay. I just say that I have had kids, not my own babies, but I have babies that come to my house, and we're the hangout house, and they get in a lot of trouble online. A lot of trouble. I've had kids come to me and parents, but kids come to me and say, can you help me? I'm addicted to pornography. I want to stop, but I don't know how. And we walk through them with that process. And so that's how we actually got started with all of this, because it was killing me. It was just like, it's horrible. And it just sucks you in. I've slimed my own kids. I'm trying to be careful. And you Google search something academic, and you get slimed. So you have to be careful if you do use courses. CurrClick, for your age group, CurrClick has a lot of things for young kids, and it's great because it's like 1 day, 2 days, that's it. Maybe 4 days, once a month, once a week for a month. It's great. So it's like a la carte, so I like them. But most of these are for older, unless you're going to do like an academy. And I don't really recommend, and I'm not against the academies, I'm not against Bob Jones or Becca, but when they're under 2nd grade, the Pediatric Society, not that they're like all powerful, but they really do not recommend online learning as a primary method of understanding things, because it shuts off part of your brain, and there's a whole thing I get into in the presentation, but it's really not so healthy. All right. Field trips. How many people go on field trips? Field trips? Our field trips now are to the hospital. Okay? And you know what? When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. My kids built, and I told her to put it in the slide. She didn't. I'm really sad. This huge hospital Lego scene. And because they called me, they says, "Mommy, look." I said, "What's that?" That's a Coast Guard man. "No, that's the doctors." I was like, "The doctor? Well, what is that?" "That's the nurse. And here's a patient. See over here? And see that? That's the potty over there." You know? And they built this whole thing. And I was just in shock. I mean, I never said anything. They're processing their daily lives now. And it's awesome. I mean, people would think it's horrible. I think it's tremendous. And I was able to get into that homeschool hat and say, "Oh, okay, remember the orderly? They have on the gray, and the nurses have on the blue." And I says, "But the ones in the gray, they do the cleaning." He says, "No, Mommy, the ones in the blue do the cleaning." I says, "No, the ones with the gray will do the cleaning." He says, "No, Mommy, I saw the ones in the blue clean." And I realized they clean up Mommy. They cleaning up Grandma. The nurses clean up Grandma. So in his mind, they're clean. He's understanding science. It's awesome. And she didn't put the picture in. I'm sorry. I'm upset. Anyway, okay. Financial issues. If they're little, do yourself a favor, save the money for high school. You will need it. Okay? I know it's exciting. I'm not against Enoch selling products. If you're going to use it and it has a long shelf life or you're going to resell it, go for it. All right? I used to, when I had fewer kids, just resell it, resell quickly. As soon as you get done with it, resell it. And then you have your book money for the next year. But don't blow a bunch of money when they're little. Your children's learning style is critical. All right? I bought Saxon Math for one of my ADHD kids. And they put all of these problems on the same page. The tears started when math began. Okay? I didn't look at the online review that said, this curriculum is not designed for, this curriculum is designed for self-starters and those who are very good at independent learning. It is not designed for those kids who need pictures, right? So we switched to Abeka and the life was good, all right? It was just the child's learning style. And then I had another kid who just get out his way. Just get out the way and just tell me, I want to check the box. He's my check the box king. Now don't ask him what he learned, but he got the box checked. Right? That's how he is wired. And he gets all A's, and he's getting ready to graduate and go to ministry school. I have no complaints. Check that box. Okay? So there are a billion things online about this already, especially in the homeschool world. We love quizzes, and you can quiz your child, and it's really exciting to find out where they're coming from. And you all can save a lot of time because I did a lot of bumping into the dark because we didn't have videos and, things that I'm trying to tell newbie moms and dads, they know already. They're like, oh, yeah, I know that. I saw that online. It's really a blessing. Your guys' learning curve is a lot less steep than it was 17 years ago. Okay? All right. The secret sauce of homeschooling. I just did a talk a few minutes ago on homeschool co-ops. When I got started, I highly recommend it because you have access to veteran moms all the time. Every week, you can hold your questions all week and say, and I still do it. I have 6 kids. I go to the mom with 9 kids and go, all right, how do you get to co-op on time every week? Could you please tell, okay. Could you please tell me? And you know what? She pulled out a chart and she said, you know what? You've been late. We're going to take care of this. All right, here we go. All right. And she wrote the names down, and we have a buddy system now. We know who's responsible for what, and life is good. It's like, oh, that's Isaac. Oh, you forgot. He needs his shoes on. That's your duty. What happened? Right? Someone has a child for the breakfast. Someone has responsibility for lunch, getting them into the car, going pot. Everything is mapped out. I had no idea. All right, so the veteran moms are wonderful. Co-ops are great, and they're a good way to get your feet wet. All right, socialization. We don't have to get into socialization. We know that we're homeschoolers. I use clubs, dance, all of those, baseball to get that in, and the co-ops. All right, the one thing I do say is that the co-ops help the kids as well get used to being part of a new culture. All right, because sometimes they're going to go through emotional things because they're not part of the public school system. All right, service opportunities are important, especially as they get older, because teens sometimes, like we walk around some of my kids sometimes and say, you are the sun and we are the moon and the stars, and you are the center of the universe, and what do you want? And then they start to go, oh, so we have to do that. So service helps take care of that. Support from mommy or whoever the instructor is, mom, dad. My husband does math. Okay. I call it scaffolding and community. I use co-ops personally. Like right now with my mom in the hospital, my Fridays, I go to Knowlton Fine Arts. They're in Jersey. Sometimes they come here. I'm not sure if they're here this year, but that is my medicine. I go to the moms. I tell my stories. They listen. We have an online prayer loop. God answers the prayers of the co-op. It's almost like the Holy Spirit haven. It's just wonderful. And then I have another co-op I joined just because of this lifestyle we're in right now that I joined. Classical Conversations, same story. The schoolwork is taken care of, and I'm taken care of. They pray for me. It's just wonderful. And just for me right now, it's important. And then I do the ballet with them to keep the healthy. Self-care is very important. Homeschoolers have this way of laying down their lives, but you still have to have some kind of mommy or daddy so that you have something to offer. Okay, can't give everything. And then their brain kind of gets, that sun and moon thing. They get like that if you just lay it all down and don't say, well, mommy is going to convention right now, so I can't play Legos with you. I have to speak today. It helps. And finally, when it gets to scheduling is very interesting because it really depends on your stage of life, where you're at. All right? If I know that mom may stay in this whole crisis time. We did this before. God healed her. She's a miracle, to be honest. And she was paralyzed once, and he healed her, but it was a year that it took. Well, it would be fool. I tried to do a curriculum that required me to read to them for hours. It was Sunlight because it was cool, and I saw it in the box. It was like, whoa, and my friends did it, and I bought it. We got through 1 week. And my mom was like, I need you to get me some tea and a tuna fish. It just wasn't working. The children need to be downstairs. I'm like, I'm a homeschooler, Mom. I'm supposed to be with them. It didn't work. We bought some workbooks. It was good. So it didn't work. But my point is, your scheduling is determined by your season. And also, when you do have things like co-ops, it does peg your weekend, and it really helps with accountability. Accountability is one of the major things that colleges have issues with homeschoolers. We have this issue with deadlines. We kind of don't keep them that well, okay? All right, it's like, oh, you didn't get your paper done today? Oh, I know you were tired. You had a cold yesterday, so we'll work on it tomorrow. It's okay, right? That's that homeschooler moment. Well, guess what? In college, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it, and so they have to have that accountability. So we personally use the co-ops, or we do online, whatever, to get that down. But the scheduling is an important skill for them to learn. I had this really cool picture of them doing their scheduling. I let them map it out, and we use the Post-it notes. And the kids, once they get older, they make it themselves. But it just depends on you. I've had years when I can go from 8 to 8:15. You are on editor-in-chief, and from 8:15 to 8:30, you are, and it was just like 15-minute rotation, boom, 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 to start our day. If I tried to do that now, I would just bang my head into the wall, okay? We're just not there now because my son goes, Ma, can you take me to work now? Honey, I told you to send me your work schedule on Sundays. I'm sorry, but I got to be there in 10 minutes. Can you take me? Right? So I just don't have that life now. But at any rate, I went through a lot of things, but I want to bring us back to the beginning. What is a 100-year perspective? All right. If we're walking with God to homeschool, all of this stuff, it really doesn't matter. Go with what he's leading you to go with. If he's saying, he told me at the beginning of the year, this is a pregnancy year, and I'm like, I don't want any more kids. What do you mean? Pregnancy year. Like, I got 6, I'm good. But what he meant was it was going to be one of those years where we just can't check all the boxes. And he had warned me. I didn't understand it. Now I get it. All right. So it's important to follow that lead, and it's really important to have fun. If you burn yourself out now, you will be like I was when my daughter was 14, ready to throw in the towel. And maybe you're not planning on homeschooling all the way through, and that's okay too. I'll be honest, we visited schools every year for years. We reconsidered every year because we follow God, not the movement, if you know what I'm saying. I know I'm at a homeschool convention, but we have to follow what he wants for our kids. And there have been times where he'll say, okay, you need to go put Johnny over here for now. There's no one answer, all right? So if the big rocks are in place, everything else will fall into place. Please just have fun and enjoy yourself. If you need support, this is my contact information. Text me, call me, whatever. I'm here for you. I'm here to help. And just thank you so much for coming. Thanks.